Okay. Yesterday we talked about relations, the relation between x and y, and then identifying relations as functions. If you remember, if the x in the domain is repeating in your ordered pairs, then it's not a function. But if it's not repeating in when your list of ordered pairs, then you have a function. All right. Also, if you remember, when when you are graphing, if you have a graph, now let's go ahead and make it the whole coordinate plane here. If you have a graph and you have a point here and a point here and a point here and a point here and a point here. Okay, remember, this is a discrete graph because there's no lines, right? There's not a connection. They're just all separate points. Okay, if you'll look here, if you'll notice, let's just say this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1. So this is 1, 1, and this is 1, 2. Excuse me, negative. 1, negative 1. Okay. So if you will notice, they both have the same. They both have the same x. All right. Okay, I'm sorry, it sounds crazy. I keep getting interruptions. They both have the same x, 1, so that means they're a vertical line. And since you can do a vertical line test and hit the graph more than once, it is not a function. Okay, so what we're going to do today, if you remember, we looked at a table of the x and y coordinates of an ordered pair. So these were the ordered pairs in the table. Well, what we're going to do today is take an equation, and we're going to take some numbers for x, and we're going to plug it in the equation and get the y, and then we're going to graph it. All right, so here we go. All right, a function can also be represented as an equation. All right, let me change my ink here, an equation. And that's what we're going to look at today. An equation, the equation will generate ordered pairs by taking an input, which is your x, that results in a certain output. You remember back when you're in probably 3rd grade, maybe 5th, they first talked about input, output like it was a machine. You put the x in, put it into the equation, and the y comes out. Okay, so if I have 2 variables and I know what one of them is, I can find out what the other value is. All right, the graph of an equation is the set of all its ordered pairs, which often forms a line or a curve. Okay, and we're going to look at those different types of equations the rest of this year. We're going to look at linear, quadratic, exponential, absolute value, square root. So we got a lot to cover. All right, the x value is called I know it's domain, but it's the blank variable. Do you remember yesterday we said domain is independent? Okay. And then the y value is called the dependent. Because this variable depends on the x. So because the x variable is independent, we can pick any number and plug it into the equation and get the y for that equation, okay? All right, so let's do that. Let's look at number 1. Now they've already given us some x values, okay? So what you're going to do is we're trying to find y, right? So we're going to substitute -5 for x and plug it in. So that have -1 equals y. Okay. All right, and now for -4, we'll plug it in. Y equals -4 plus 4, so y equals 0. And plug in -2, y equals -2 plus 4, so y equals 2. And if we plug in 0 for x, y equals 0 plus 4, so y equals 4. Okay, so now just by simply plugging in some numbers for x, we've got some ordered pairs that will help us draw the line that represents this equation. Okay, so we're going to go to negative, always start at your origin, -5, so we're going to the left 5 times on our x-axis, and then it's -1 for our range, so we're going down 1. Okay. All right, next we have -4, 0. So we're going to go to the left 4 times, and it's 0, so we're not going to go up or down. We're just going to stay there on the x-axis. And then we have -2, 2. So to the left 2 and up 2. And then we have 0, 4. So we'll stay at the origin and go up 4. All right, so now this makes a really pretty nice line, okay? So you have graphed the line of this equation just by plugging in some numbers. It's one of those days, y'all. Just by plugging in some numbers and finding the y value and posting those, okay? All right. Let's look at number 2. All right, so they've given us some values, and we're going to plug those in for x. So we're going to have y equals 3/4 times x. So x is going to be -4 minus 2. So this is going to end up being y equals -3 minus 2, so y equals -5. Okay. All right, let's do plug in 0 for x. 3/4 times 0 is 0 minus 2, so we'll have -2. And then if we plug in 3/4 times 4 minus 2, then we're going to have 3 minus 2, which is 1. All right, and I don't know if that's going to let me write on it. Yeah, it will. Then we're going to plug in 3/4 times x, so 3/4 times 8 minus 2, so this is 6 minus 2, which is 4. All right, so we have 4 little ordered pairs here, so we're going to plot these 4 points. So we have -4, go to the left 4 and down 5. So we're going to make a point right there. 0, -2 here. And then 4, go to the right 4 and up 1. Remember, always start at your origin. And then 8, 4. Okay, well, This only goes to 6, 7, 8, and up 4 would probably be about right here. But we've got plenty to draw a line. Okay. All right, so you've got the... Okay. All right, y equals 3x. All right, and they've given us the numbers to plug in. So y equals 3 times -2, which is -6. Okay, then we're going to replace x with -1. 3 times -1 is -3. We're going to replace 0 with x. 0 times 3 is 0. And then substitute x with 1. 3 times 1 is 3. All right, so now we're going to graph. Go to the left 2 and down 6. Go to the left 1 and down 3. And then this is 0, 0, which is our origin. And then the last ordered pair is 1, 3. Go the right 1 and up 3. Okay, so we've got a little bit of a steeper line here, don't we? But a line's a line. Okay. All right, let's go to the next page. I'll leave some of those for you to practice on. All right, the next says they're going to give us the equation, and they're telling us that the domain, some of the domain is 4, 6, and 8. So, what it says, given each function and domain, find the range values. So, what it wants us to do is to complete this table. So, we're going to use 4, 6, and 8. And we're going to plug it into this equation. Y equals 4 minus 5, so that's -1. Y equals 6 minus 5, so that's 1. And y equals 8 minus 5. Remember, I'm just plugging in, replacing that x with this value. So we got 3. Okay, so here's the range for this domain. All right, let's do another one. Let's look at number 9. So we have x and y for our table, and they gave us -2, 3, and 5. Okay, so we're just going to take this equation, y equals 4 minus x, and we're going to replace x with a negative. So y, this is where some of you need to be careful. Y minus, that's part of the equation, right? 4 minus, that's part of the equation. And then it says minus x, and here x is -2. Okay, so 4 minus -2 is the same thing as 4 plus 2, so y equals 6. And then we have y equals 4 minus 3, so that's 1. And then y equals 4 minus, our domain is 5, so that's -1. Okay. I'll do one more. I think y'all are pretty sharp. Y'all got this figured out. You've done this before. All right, so y equals -2/3 x plus 9. Okay, so I am going to make my x and y table, and we're plugging in -12, -6, and 3. So y equals -2/3 times -12 plus 9. Okay, so negative 2/3 times negative 12 is going to be positive 8 plus 9. So that's going to be 17. Have to have a bigger graph for that, wouldn't you? Okay, and y equals negative 2/3 times our x. This time is going to be negative 6 plus 9. So y equals, this negative times negative is positive, and 3 will go into 6, 2, so it's 4 plus 9, so that's going to be 13. And then our last one, y equals negative 2/3 times x, and in this case our x is 3, and the equation finished is plus 9. So y equals negative 2/3 times positive 3 is negative 2 plus 9 will be positive 7. Okay. So, and when you're writing your answers, you can put on here that our range for R is the set of the numbers 6, 1, and negative 1. Okay. This one would be, my range would be 17, 13, and 7 based on this given domain. Okay. All right. And you have a worksheet with some problems like this, making the tables, and then graphing points. Okay. All right. Have a good day, y'all.